Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual science classroom. This is your teacher Daryl Del Mundo. And today, we are going to start our week number 5 with a prayer. Let us all pray. Thank you very much. And for our secretary, do not forget to check the attendance of the boys and check the attendance of the girls, then add it up, send to our group chat. Is that clear? And for our week number 5, we are basically focused on this topic, the sun and seasons of the earth. So basically, we are talking about the reality or what are the observances that we can see when it comes to different seasons, when it comes to the role of the sun in this discussion. So to start with, this supplementary learning material will help us to learn, number one, the power of the sun. And for lesson number 2, it's all about the different seasons and various climates. And as we look back, all you have to do is to guess the given sentence. Okay? Below that is related from the previous topic. Actually, I already given to you the sentences here. And all you need to answer is the space here. Okay? So this is the height of the sun in the sky to the amount of energy received. And this is also the latitude of an area to the amount of energy received. So as you can see here, it depends on the different latitude on how they receive the sun's energy. Okay, it is because of what? All about the tilting of the earth. That is why there is an equal distribution of sun's energy. So yung solar energy, it is not well distributed, no? So as you can see, here in the middle part, especially the equator, has greater solar energy received than that of the north and to the south. Okay, good job. And for lesson number 1, we are going to tackle about the power of the sun. And okay, so for lesson number 1, we are going to read this article. We have article number 1 and article number 2. You can read this and you can listen to this video as well. So for article number 1, the first solar power plant in Negros Oriental opens. Okay, so the land of renewable energy in the Philippines. Let's start. The first solar power plant in Negros Oriental was inaugurated on Tuesday, April 5 in Barangay Tamisu, Bais City. The event was attended by Monte Solar Energy Incorporated or Montesol, CEO Fernando Zobel de Ayala, and representatives of the Montenegro family. The owners of the land where the plant was built, according to the site manager, the 22.4-hectare solar power plant could produce 18 megawatts of direct current or DC of over 25 million kilowatt hour in a year. So this is enough to supply over 10,000 households that consume at least 200 kilowatts per hour per month. And it helps us a lot, as you can see. And for article number 2, the title is, Does the location of the sun affect the amount of energy solar panels collect? By John Kapiwiski, Seattle Pi Education. So, a photovoltaic solar panel produces electricity in direct proportion to the amount of sunlight falling on it. Because the sun's angle in the sky influences the intensity of the light received by the earth. So we all know that location of the sun affects how much energy a solar panel generates. Several factors determine the sun's location relative to the panel, including time of the day, season, and latitude as well. So when the sun is overhead, its rays are the most direct and intense. As it becomes lower in the sky, the same area of light from the sun covers a larger area of the earth. As the area increases, intensity decreases. So a solar panel receiving this light produces less electricity. To partially compensate for the reduced intensity, a solar panel can be tilted to match the sun's angle. Although the complexity and upkeep of mechanical tracking systems add considerable cost to a solar energy installation. And during the day, the sun's rays are most intense at noon, weakest at dawn and dusk, and in between at other daytime hours. So other factors such as cloud cover being equal, a solar panel output is greatest at noon because the sun's rays are more direct than at other times. Seasons also affect the sun's location in the sky because the Earth's axis is tilted at 23.5 degrees with respect to the sun. So the seasons change as the planet moves through its year-long orbit. So this is the sun at dawn. And also at the equator, the sun's rays are the most direct on Earth. As you move toward the poles, the sun's angle in the sky decreases, as does solar intensity. The weakness of sunlight accounts for the extreme cold conditions near the poles. According to NASA, the sun's rays are 40% as intense there as they are at the equator. So it means that the closer a solar panel's location is to the equator, the greater will be its electrical output. Example, our country is near the equator, so basically we receive a lot of sun's energy and there is a greater chance to get a lot of electrical output. Okay? Lalo na sa mga maiinit na lugar. So dun sa mga colder area, medyo mababa ang electrical output. Okay? Galing sa sun's energy. And the distance of the sun to an earthbound solar panel changes very little during the course of the year, as the Earth's orbit is nearly a perfect circle. However, distance plays a major role for a solar panel that powers satellites and missions to space. So as you can see, the sun changes its direction. Okay, so there will come a time na pwedeng mabago, di ba? Yung pag-harness natin ng energy from the sun. And this is the question that you need to answer in your notebook. What can you say about the opening of a solar power plant in Negros Oriental? So you can answer it by your own words. Is it good or bad? Then explain why. Okay? You can explain it briefly. That's okay. So for lesson number 2, we are going to tackle about different seasons and various climate. About different seasons, actually class, to those of us who live on Earth, the most important astronomical object by far is the sun. It plays a very important role when it comes to living things, when it comes to different environmental we can say environmental issues, and especially to climate and weather. So it provides light and warmth. We all know that it motions through our sky that causes day and night, the passage of the seasons and Earth's varied climate. So we have in other countries, so they have summer, spring, winter, and autumn seasons, right? But here in the Philippines, we only have two. We only have dry season and we have wet season. Yung summer natin yung tag-init, yung wet season natin yung tag-ulan. But those countries who that are in between, in the tropic and the Arctic, for example, and Antarctic, lahat ng in between na yon, they experience 4 seasons. And we don't have that kind of 4 seasons here. So let's talk about the movement of the sun. On any given day, the sun moves through our sky in the same way as a star, because we all know that a sun is also a star. It rises somewhere along the eastern horizon and sets somewhere in the west. So we all know that the sun rises at the east, somewhere in east, and it sets somewhere in the west. So if you live at a mid-northern latitude, most of Northern America, Europe, Asia, and Northern Africa, you always see the noon sun somewhere in the southern sky. So that's the rule when you are living in different country. That's why when you are living somewhere in north, okay, in Canada for an instance. So even though at night or even though at 7 p.m., 8 p.m., they still experiencing a very bright sky, okay, because of the position of the sun and its movement. So, but as weeks and months pass, you'll notice that the sun's motion isn't it's quite the same as that of any star. For one thing, the sun takes a full 24 hours to make a complete circle around the celestial sphere instead of just 23 hours and 56 minutes. For obvious reasons, we define our day based on the motion of the sun, not the stars. Moreover, the location of the sun's path across the sky varies with the season. So always remember that the location of the sun's path across the sky varies the season. So as you can see here, as the month is changing, it also changes, okay, the season. And next, let's talk about the rays of the sun. So here we have a diagram that shows the direct and diffuse radiation absorbed by Earth's surface. So we all know that the energy, the main energy here on Earth came from the sun. So when the sun is overhead, ibig sabihin, tanghaling dapat to as in tirik na tirik yung araw, its rays are the most direct and intense. As it becomes lower in the sky, the same area of light from the sun covers a larger area kasi mas mataas siya, okay, of the Earth. We all know that. During the day, the sun's rays are most intense at noon, weakest at dawn and dusk, and in between at other daytime hours. But when it's cloudy, so there will be less sunlight in an area resulting to less energy received kasi natatakpan na yung araw. Okay, the solar energy cannot penetrate anymore. Indeed, the height of the sun in the sky really affects the amount of energy received in an area. So, kung nandito tayo sa Philippines, mas marami tayong ma-harness na solar energy because we have a lot of sun's energy throughout the year. Okay, so marahil pwedeng bumaba yung bill nyo ng kuryente, di ba? Hindi na kayo magabayad ng ganong kalaki sa Meralco. So here, the sun's energy input is plus 100. Okay, and it can be radiated to different aspect and it behaves differently. So absorbed by atmospheric gases and dust, other directly hit the ground, and other is reflected, go back. Other diffuses and other reflected by clouds or absorbed by clouds. And how about the location of the sun? Let's talk about the sun's location with respect to the stars. It doesn't depend on your observing location on Earth. Remember that. So you know that enough to figure out how the sun appears to move through the sky from other locations. Before kasi ang alam nila, class, ang sun ang umiikot sa Earth. Okay? But now, we all know that the Earth is rotating its own axis and at the same time, it revolving around the sun. Okay. Dati kasi ang alam nila is geocentric, meaning to say, ang Earth ang nasa gitna ng solar system and then ang sun ang umiikot doon sa Earth. But now, we have that theory about the heliocentric or heliocentrism, meaning to say that the sun is at the center of the solar system. Okay? And next, we are going to talk about sunrise and sunset na sometimes pinakagusto nating makita sa mga beaches. Okay, so if you travel east or west, you'll see the sunrise and set earlier or later, respectively, just like a star would. Again, we partially compensate for this by setting our clocks to different time zones. So magkakaiba kasi tayo ng time zone. So at east, Venus as the morning star, and then Venus as the evening star at the west. So, and another thing, class, if you travel north or south, the sun's daily motion is still the same as that of a star seen from your latitude. So, at the equinoxes, okay, for example, we have here's the equinoxes. Okay, so for example, the sun still follows the celestial equator, while at the solstices, okay, the sun follows a circle that lies 23.5 degrees north in June or south in December of the celestial equator. So somewhere in June 21 or December 21 yung ating mga solstice. Okay. So if you can visualize the path of stars on these parts of the celestial sphere, then you can visualize the daily path of the sun, like in this diagram. So approximate sunrise direction. In northeast, the summer solstice is in June 21, while in the southeast, on December 21 is this winter solstice. And here, the equinoxes is during March and September, usually sa east. Diyan natin makikita yung sunrise. Okay? And we all know that as we travel southward in the northern hemisphere, the moon sun gets higher and higher. So the first qualitative change occurs at 23 degrees latitude, where the noon sun on the June solstice passes directly overhead. This latitude is called the Tropic of Cancer here. Okay, somewhere here. And then, on the other hand, farther south, in the so-called tropics, the noon sun will appear in the northern sky for a period of time around June solstice. At the equator, the moon sun is straight overhead on the equinoxes. And after you pass 23.5 degrees south latitude, which is the Tropic of Capricorn, the noon sun is always in the north. Okay, so as you can see here, the June sun rays, okay, and then we have here the December sun rays, and it affects the northern and the southern part of the earth. And let's continue, class. In much further south is the Atlantic or Antarctic Circle. So this Antarctic Circle, where the sun never quite rises, especially on the June solstice, and never quite sets on December solstice. Because researchers at the South Pole have continuous daylight from September through March. So halos umaga sa kanila ng September through March, and continuous night including twilight from March through September. So specifically, class, lahat ng nandun sa north and south, sometimes they experience like 6 months of night, 6 months of daytime, okay, because of the sun's location. So let's read this one. Wherever more direct sunlight hits the earth, it is either or there warmer months summer. So as you can see here, they just exchange position. Okay, when it is winter at the north, then summer at the south. So, and when it revolves, can be inversely proportional to each other. Like at north, it will become summer, and at the south, it will become winter. Okay, so likewise, whichever pole is tilted in the darkness, the hemisphere is experiencing winter during that day. So here, the south is having winter. Okay? So let's talk about the seasons. The added hours of daylight is one of the reasons why summer is warmer than winter. So there are reasons that's even more important. Number one, the angle of the midday sun. Notice from the illustrations above that the noon sun is much higher in June than in December. This means that the sun's rays strike the ground more directly in June, while in December, on the other hand, the same amount of energy is diluted over a larger area of ground. So let us look at this diagram here. So we have here the sun's location in June 21 to 22, which has the longest day. And then on March 21 to 22, September 22 to 23, equal day and night at yung equinox. Okay? Ito yung summer solstice natin. Kaya June 21, mas mahaba ang araw. Okay, kung napansin nyo, last June 21, mas mahaba yung araw natin kaysa sa gabi. Okay, sa March 21 to 22, September 22 to 23, equal day and night. Ibig sabihin, the same yung number of hours ng day and night natin. And lastly, class, on December 21 to 22, ito naman yung shortest day natin, yung winter solstice natin. Kaya di ba usually, pagdating ng mga bare months dito sa Philippines, nagkakaroon tayo ng daylight saving time. Kasi pagpasok ng September or late September, October, November, December, mas mahaba na ang nighttime. Okay? Kaya nakaka-apekto ang path ng sun sa different months na meron tayo. Okay? Do not forget these examples. So, there is a common misconception. So, ito yung minsan mali natin na akala natin tama kasi naririnig natin sa iba. That summer is warmer than winter because the sun is closer to us in the summer. We can say it theoretically, but actually, the sun's distance hardly changes at all. And in fact, the sun happens to be closest to us in January. Okay, tandaan nyo na mas malapit tayo sa araw tuwing January. Again, the seasonal changes in climate are caused by the varying angle of the sun's rays, together with the varying amount of time that the sun is above our horizon. Like for this example, so hindi ibig sabihin summer talagang warmer. So tandaan natin, mas malapit ang araw sa Earth every January. Okay? And remember these, class. To recall, every part of the Earth would receive an equal amount of sunlight as the Earth rotated. And as the Earth rotates, everyone on Earth experiences day and night. It takes 24 hours for Earth to rotate once, but the Earth isn't perfectly balanced because it's tilted on its axis. The reason why we have experienced seasonal changes, different length of daytime and nighttime, and different amount of energy received from the sun. Those seasons refers to a division of year based on changes in weather, ecology, and the number of daylight hours in a given region. So let's look at these comics. I swear this guy is stalking me. Every time I turn around, he's right there. So the Earth is talking to the moon, talking about this guy, the sun. So because the sun plays a very important role when it comes to the Earth or Earth's activity and Earth's different aspects. Okay, so that's very important. And if you have done with watching this video, class, or you need to rewatch this video for you to review, do not forget to answer the questions in your module that can be found in your Google Classroom. For lesson number 1, answer pages number 5, 6 to 7 for pre-test. And for lesson number 2, answer pages 11 to 12, 13 to 14 in post-test. Okay, for the post-test. And if you have any clarifications, questions regarding this topic, do not be hesitant to contact me in my different social media accounts. Okay? Either of these, you can contact me. So that's the end of our week number 5 of quarter 4. Thank you so much and have a nice day. I'm signing off right now and see you next week. God bless you all. Bye.